After 500,000 years, aliens visit Earth and regret it instantly. The huge alien ship appeared in Earth's sky on a normal Tuesday morning. It hung above the planet like a shining metal island. The ship belonged to the Crethanians, a species that had been watching Earth for 500,000 years. They had waited and waited for humans to change into what the aliens thought was the right kind of life form. Now they had come to see what humans had become. Commander Zalek stood on the bridge of the ship called Stellar Encompasser. His tall, thin body was covered in a blue-green skin that shimmered under the lights. He had 4 arms and 2 legs, with a head that featured 6 eyes arranged in a circle. His mouth parts clicked together as he looked at the blue planet below. "Begin scans," he ordered. His voice sounded like small bells ringing. The crew moved quickly, their fingers dancing over control panels made of light. They had been traveling for 3 years to reach Earth. The Crethanians lived for hundreds of years, so 3 years wasn't much to them, but they were still eager to see what had happened on this little world. "Scan results coming in, Commander," said Officer Draytall. She had light purple skin and stood a head shorter than Zalek. "I don't understand. The humans are still biological." Zalek moved to her station and looked at the data. His eyes blinked one after another in a circle, showing his confusion. "This cannot be right. They should have moved beyond flesh by now. They should be energy beings or at least partly machine." "The data is correct, sir," Draytall said. "They have cities, simple vehicles, and primitive computers. They haven't even colonized their own solar system properly." Zalek felt disappointment fill his chest. The Crethanians had visited Earth 500,000 years ago and made small changes to early humans. These changes should have guided humans to evolve faster, to become more like the Crethanians themselves, beings who had partly merged with machines and could share thoughts directly. "Send landing teams to their major population centers," Zalek ordered. "We need to understand what went wrong. Down on Earth, people were panicking. The alien ship had appeared without warning, and now smaller ships were coming down to land in cities around the world." Jack Miller stood in Central Park in New York City, watching as one of the smaller ships lowered itself onto the Great Lawn. He was 32 years old with brown hair and tired eyes. He worked as a history teacher at a high school in Brooklyn. This morning his coffee maker had broken, he had missed his bus, and now aliens were landing in the park. It was turning into a very strange day. "This is unreal," said a woman next to him. Her name was Laura Bennett, and she worked as a reporter for a local news website. She had been in the park to cover a charity run when the ship appeared. Now she held her phone up, recording everything. Her hands shook slightly. "Do you think they're friendly?" Jack shrugged. "I guess we'll find out." More people gathered around them. Some ran away in fear, but most stood and watched. Police officers tried to keep people back, but there were too many curious onlookers. The alien ship was about the size of a city bus. It didn't have any windows that Jack could see. It was smooth and silver, with strange patterns etched into its surface that seemed to move if you looked at them too long. With a soft hiss, a door opened in the side of the ship. A ramp extended to the ground. The first alien stepped out and the crowd gasped. It was tall, at least 7 feet, with multiple arms and strange glowing eyes. Its skin caught the sunlight and reflected it in rainbow patterns. "People of Earth," the alien said, its voice somehow speaking perfect English. "We are the Crethanians. We have come to meet you after watching your world for 500,000 years." Jack felt his mouth drop open. 500,000 years? These beings had been watching Earth since before modern humans existed. More aliens emerged from the ship. They carried small devices that they pointed at the humans. They didn't look like weapons, but Jack felt nervous anyway. "Please remain calm," the first alien said. "We are here to learn why you have not evolved, as expected." A brave police officer stepped forward. "I'm Officer Ben Harris. Welcome to Earth. What do you mean by evolved as expected?" The alien turned its circle of eyes toward the officer. "Your species was given certain advantages. Genetic modifications made long ago. You should have progressed much further by now." A murmur ran through the crowd. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. These aliens had done something to human ancestors. Similar scenes were playing out in cities around the world, in London, Paris, Beijing, Moscow, and dozens of other places. Crathanian ships landed and aliens emerged to speak with humans. Within hours, world leaders were meeting with alien representatives. The Crathanians requested access to human historical records, DNA samples, and tours of major cities. They seemed puzzled by everything they saw, as if humans had somehow disappointed them. Jack found himself invited to a meeting at the American Museum of Natural History. Because he was a history teacher, museum officials thought he might be helpful. He sat at a large table with scientists, government officials, and 3 Crathanians. "Your technology is primitive," one alien named Yaxtil said. "You still use combustion engines and silicon computers. You still eat food grown in dirt. You still reproduce through biological means." "What's wrong with that?" asked Dr. Susan Rivera, a biologist. "It is inefficient," Yaxtil replied. "By now you should have moved beyond such limitations. Your bodies should have evolved. Your minds should connect directly with each other and with machines." Jack couldn't help himself. He spoke up. "But we like being human. We like our bodies and our food and our way of life." All 6 of Yaxtil's eyes turned to look at him. "That is the problem. You have not outgrown your attachment to your physical form. This is not the path we set for you." A cold feeling spread through the room. The humans looked at each other with worry. "What do you mean, the path you set for us?" Jack asked. The alien seemed to hesitate before answering. "Long ago, we visited Earth. We made small changes to your ancestors. These changes should have guided your evolution toward a higher form. But something went wrong. You evolved physically, but your minds remained primitive. You still have emotions, you still care about individual lives. You still have separate nations and religions." Dr. Rivera stood up, her face showing anger. "Those aren't flaws. Those are what make us human." "Yes," Yaxtil said. "That is precisely the problem." Outside the museum, people had gathered to see the aliens. Some held welcome signs. Others held protest signs. No one knew what these visitors really wanted. In space, aboard the Stellar Encompasser, Commander Zalek received reports from all the landing teams. Each report said the same thing. Humans had not evolved as the Crathanians had planned. They were still individual beings. They still had emotions. They still cared about things like art and music and love. Zalek sent a message to the Crathanian. "Homeworld, billions of miles away. The Earth experiment has failed. Humans remain primitive biological entities. Request instructions for correction procedures." The answer came back quickly. "Begin preparations for evolutionary reset. If humans cannot evolve properly on their own, we will help them." Zalek looked down at the blue planet. The Crathanians had come to Earth expecting to find a species that had evolved beyond biology, beyond emotion, beyond individuality. Instead, they found humans who were still very much human. The commander didn't know it yet, but the Crathanians were about to regret their visit to Earth very much indeed. After 500,000 years, aliens visit Earth and regret it instantly. The days after the aliens landed were filled with meetings and talks. World leaders met with Crathanian officials. Scientists shared information with alien researchers. News stations showed nothing but pictures of the tall, many-armed visitors. Colonel Samantha Fox didn't trust them one bit. She was a 40-year-old officer in the United States Space Defense Force, a division created just 5 years ago. She had short blonde hair, serious eyes, and a habit of tapping her fingers when she was worried. Right now, she was tapping a lot. "They keep saying we disappointed them," she told General Martinez in his office at the Pentagon. "Who are they to be disappointed in us? We didn't ask them to mess with our ancestors." The general nodded. He was an older man with gray hair and a lined face. "The president wants us to play nice for now. These aliens have technology we can't match. One of their small ships could probably destroy a city without trying hard." Samantha frowned. "I've been assigned as a guide for their ambassador. His name is Greetal. I'm supposed to show him our military capabilities today. Be careful what you show him, the general warned. An hour later, Samantha walked with Ambassador Greetal through a hallway in the Pentagon. The alien towered over her, his blue-green skin catching the light from overhead. 4 of his 6 eyes watched her, while the other 2 seemed to look at everything else. Your species is very focused on defense, Greetal said. His voice had a musical quality that almost made his words sound friendly. We have to be, Samantha replied. Our history is full of conflicts. Yes, another disappointment, the alien said. By now you should have moved beyond such primitive instincts. Your genetic modifications should have made you more peaceful, more united. Samantha stopped walking and looked up at him. What exactly did your people do to our ancestors? Greetal's eyes blinked in sequence, one after another. We made small improvements. We enhanced your brain capacity. We adjusted your aggressive tendencies to be more controlled. We improved your immune systems. He paused. But something went wrong. You developed along physical lines, but your minds remained primitive. You still have separate countries. You still fight wars. You still feel strong emotions. Those aren't signs of being primitive, Samantha said. Those are signs of being human. Precisely the problem, Greetal replied. At the United Nations in New York, similar conversations were happening. Dr. Alan Rodriguez was the world's leading expert in language. He had helped create computer programs that could translate any human language. Now he was trying to understand the Crithanians better. Your written language is fascinating, he told the alien representative, a female named Treepax. It seems to change meaning based on who is reading it. It adapts to the reader, Tripax confirmed. All advanced communication should. Alan smiled. Human languages don't work that way, but they have their own beauty. We have poetry, metaphors, jokes. Inefficient? Tripax interrupted. Language should transfer information precisely. Your languages are full of emotion and confusion. That's what makes them rich, Alan argued. They reflect who we are. Tripax's skin changed color slightly, darkening. We have been patient with your species, Dr. Rodriguez. 500,000 of your years waiting for you to develop properly. Our council now believes you may need help to reach your potential. Alan felt a chill. What kind of help? The alien didn't answer. Far from the big cities and important meetings, 12-year-old Zoe Patterson played in her backyard in Pinewood, Ohio. She had red hair in 2 braids and glasses that kept sliding down her nose. While her parents watched news about the aliens on TV, Zoe was more interested in the birds at her feeder. She was watching a blue jay when she noticed something strange hovering near the old oak tree. It was small and round, about the size of a baseball, and it floated in the air. It was silver like the alien ships on TV. Hello? Zoe said, walking closer. The object made a soft humming sound. As Zoe approached, it seemed to wobble in the air. Then suddenly it dropped to the ground with a soft thud. Zoe looked around. No one was watching. She picked up the object. It was warm and lighter than she expected. Strange symbols moved across its surface, like the ones she had seen on the alien ships in news videos. Without warning, the object lit up. A beam of light shot out, creating a floating picture in the air. Zoe gasped. The picture showed strange creatures that looked like early humans, but not quite right. Then it showed Crithanians doing something to these early humans while they slept. The scene changed to show the inside of a Crithanian ship. Aliens were talking, their bell-like voices somehow translated so Zoe could understand. The human experiment has failed, one alien said. They have not transcended their biological limitations as planned. The Council has authorized corrective measures, another replied. We will help them evolve whether they wish it or not. The picture showed a plan to release something into Earth's atmosphere, something that would change humans on a basic level, altering their DNA further. The light shut off as suddenly as it had appeared. Zoe stood frozen, holding what she now knew was some kind of alien recording device. It had fallen from a Crithanian observation drone, and it showed that the aliens weren't just disappointed in humans. They planned to change humans without asking. Zoe ran inside, clutching the device. "Mom, Dad, you have to see this." Her parents, Bill and Karen Patterson, were ordinary people with ordinary jobs. Bill worked at the local hardware store, and Karen taught kindergarten. They listened to their daughter's story with growing concern. "Need to tell someone," Karen said after they had seen the recording. "Someone important." "Who would believe us?" Bill asked. "We're nobody special." "We have proof," Zoe said, holding up the alien device. That night, the Patterson family drove to the nearest military base, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They were stopped at the gate, but Zoe convinced the guards to take them seriously by showing them the device. Within hours, they were meeting with military officers and scientists. The alien device was taken to a lab for study, but not before everyone had seen its message. "This confirms what some of us have suspected," said a scientist named Dr. Paul Ward. "The Crethanians aren't just visiting. They have plans for us." While experts examined the device, word of its contents spread. World leaders who had been welcoming the aliens now looked at them with new suspicion. People who had been excited about the visitors began to worry. In space, aboard the Stellar Encompasser, Commander Zalek received bad news. "We've lost contact with observation drone KT-789, an officer reported. It was monitoring a small human settlement. "Send another drone," Zalek ordered. "Sir, there's more," the officer said. "Our communications have been accessed. The humans know about the correction protocols." Zalek's eyes all blinked at once, showing his alarm. "How is that possible? Their technology shouldn't be able to decode our systems." "Unknown, sir. But human communication channels are now filled with warnings about our plans." Zalek moved to the main viewing screen and looked down at Earth. For 500,000 years, the Crethanians had waited for humans to evolve beyond emotion, beyond individuality, beyond biology. They had planned to return and find a species ready to join the galactic community as proper, logical beings. Instead, they found humans who were still very human. And now those humans knew that the Crethanians planned to correct them. "Move up the timeline," Zalek ordered. "Begin atmospheric release of the correction compounds immediately." The officer hesitated. "Sir, the Council hasn't approved an accelerated timeline." "I am approving it," Zalek said. "The humans are more resourceful than we expected. We cannot allow them time to resist." Little did the commander know, resistance had already begun. After 500,000 years, aliens visit Earth, and regret it instantly word spread quickly about what the Crethanians really wanted. The news that aliens had been changing human DNA for thousands of years, and planned to do more without permission, made people angry and scared. President Diane Lewis sat in the Oval Office, surrounded by her advisors. She was a tall woman with dark skin and short gray hair. She had been president for 2 years and had handled many crises, but nothing like this. "So they've been experimenting on us?" she asked, her voice tight with anger. "For 500,000 years?" "Yes, Madam President," said Colonel Samantha Fox. She had been called to the White House to report what she had learned from Ambassador Greetall. "They see us as a failed experiment. They expected us to evolve beyond our bodies, beyond emotions. They're disappointed that we're still human." "And now they want to correct us?" the president asked. "According to the device the Patterson girl found, yes," Samantha confirmed. "They plan to release something into our atmosphere that will change our DNA further. Make us more like them." The president stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see protesters on the White House lawn. Some held signs welcoming the aliens, but most now demanded they leave Earth. "Where is the Patterson family now?" she asked. "At a secure location, Madam President," Samantha replied. "The girl, Zoe, is quite remarkable. She's helping our scientists understand the alien device she found." President Lewis turned back to the room. "I want all contact with the Crethanians. Stopped immediately. No more meetings, no more sharing information, and I want our military on high alert." "The aliens have superior technology," warned the Secretary of Defense. "If they choose to force these changes on us, I'm not sure we can stop them." "Then we'd better figure out how," the president said. All around the world, governments took similar actions. They stopped talking with the Crithanians and began preparing for a fight. People in cities near alien landing sites were moved to safer places. Scientists worked day and night to understand alien technology and find ways to defend against it. At a secret lab deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Paul Ward worked with an international team of scientists. The lab had been built years ago as a place to study dangerous diseases, but now it was the center of Earth's scientific response to the alien threat. The Crithanians have underestimated us, Dr. Ward told his team. He was a thin man with thick glasses and messy brown hair. They didn't expect us to discover their plans or decode their technology so quickly. Dr. Susan Kim nodded in agreement. She was studying the alien device that Zoe Patterson had found. They think because we still have bodies and emotions that we're primitive, but our emotions give us strength they don't understand. In another part of the lab, scientists examined Crithanian biology. They had collected samples from places the aliens had visited. They discovered that Crithanians had changed their own bodies over many thousands of years. They had added machine parts to their brains. They had changed their DNA to make themselves less emotional, more logical. They could share thoughts without speaking, like a hive mind. They're not better than us, Dr. Kim said, looking at the test results. Just different. They evolved for space travel. We evolved for Earth. Meanwhile, Zoe Patterson sat with her parents in a comfortable room at a military base. They had been moved there for safety after turning over the alien device. Zoe's discovery had made her famous, but she couldn't go outside or talk to her friends. I wish I could go home, she told her parents. I know, honey, her mom said. But right now, this is the safest place for us. Zoe's dad put his arm around her shoulders. You did a brave thing, showing that device to the authorities. You might have saved a lot of people. Zoe nodded, but she still felt scared. She had seen the aliens' plans. She knew what they wanted to do to all humans. Just then, a knock came at the door. It was Colonel Samantha Fox. Zoe, your insights about the alien device have been incredibly helpful, Samantha said. Our scientists have a few more questions. Would you mind coming with me to speak with them? Zoe looked at her parents, who nodded encouragingly. Okay, she said, standing up. Samantha led Zoe to a room where several scientists waited with computers and the alien device. One of them was Dr. Paul Ward, who had flown in from the underwater lab. Zoe, you mentioned that when you first saw the device it was hovering near a tree, right? Dr. Ward asked. Yes, Zoe said. It was watching the birds, I think. Dr. Ward nodded thoughtfully. And when you approached, it fell to the ground. It malfunctioned somehow. I guess so, Zoe said. It seemed like it was surprised to see me. That's interesting, Dr. Ward said. We've been studying this device and we think it was programmed to observe wildlife, not humans. When it saw you, it tried to hide, but something went wrong. What does that mean? Zoe asked. Dr. Ward smiled. It means the Crithanians might not understand us as well as they think they do. In space, aboard the Stellar Encompasser, Commander Zalek faced growing pressure. The humans had stopped all communication with Crithanian representatives. They had moved away from landing sites. They were clearly preparing for conflict. The humans know about our plans, Zalek told the ship's officers. They are more intelligent than our models suggested. The Galactic Council is concerned, said his second-in-command. They expected the humans to welcome our help in evolving. They did not expect resistance. Zalek moved to the main viewing screen and studied the blue planet below. Proceed with the atmospheric release. We cannot allow a failed experiment to continue. Back on Earth, the first signs of the Crithanian plan appeared. Small pods were released from the alien ships, falling into Earth's atmosphere. As they descended, they began releasing a fine mist that spread through the air. Scientists detected these pods immediately. Analysis showed that the mist contained something that would change human DNA, making people less emotional, more connected to each other like a hive mind, more like the Crithanians. President Lewis called an emergency meeting with world leaders by video. We need to stop these pods, she said. Our scientists say if that mist spreads worldwide, humanity as we know it will cease to exist. Leaders from China, Russia, India, and the European Union all agreed. For the first time in history, all countries worked together against a common threat. Military jets were sent to intercept the pods. Some were shot down, but many were protected by alien technology that made bullets bounce off. The Crethanians responded by sending more pods, thousands of them, falling all over the planet. Hope began to fade. The pods were too numerous, too well protected. It seemed like the Crethanians would succeed in changing humanity forever. Then, in the underwater lab, Dr. Susan Kim made a discovery. The alien DNA is sensitive to a certain frequency of sound, she told Dr. Ward excitedly. When exposed to this frequency, their cellular structure becomes unstable. Dr. Ward's eyes widened. Could we use that against their pods? I think so, Dr. Kim said. If we can broadcast this frequency worldwide, it might disrupt the mist they're releasing. They immediately shared their discovery with military leaders. Within hours, every radio station, TV broadcaster, cell phone tower, and satellite dish on Earth was being reconfigured to emit this special frequency. As the Crethanian pods continued to fall, Earth prepared its first real counterattack. After 500,000 years, aliens visit Earth and regret it instantly. The plan to save humanity began with a sound no human could hear. Dr. Susan Kim's discovery about the alien DNA weakness was Earth's best hope. Around the world, people worked to change radio stations, TV towers, cell phones, and anything that could send out signals to broadcast this special sound. Steve Anderson had never thought of himself as a hero. He was just a normal computer expert from Seattle with glasses and a quiet voice. But now he led the team trying to break into the alien communication system. They talked to each other like parts of one big brain, Steve explained to military leaders during an emergency video meeting. Their ships, their pods, even their suits all connect to each other. They all have to agree before anything happens. How does that help us? Asked General Martinez, his face serious on the screen. If we can put our sound frequency into their communication system, Steve said, it would reach all their technology at once. It would be much stronger than just broadcasting it through the air. Lisa Gonzalez, a brilliant scientist who worked with quantum computers, nodded in agreement. Their technology needs all parts to work together like a perfect team. If we add something they don't expect, like adding a wrong note to a song, their whole system could fall apart. The plan was risky. Someone would need to get close enough to a Crethanian ship to connect to their communication system. It would be very dangerous. I'll do it, said Colonel Samantha Fox, who had been listening quietly. I've spent more time with the aliens than almost anyone. I know their ships. The president approved the mission. Samantha would lead a small team to the Crethanian landing site in Washington, D.C. While the aliens were distracted by military actions elsewhere, they would try to connect Earth's sound frequency to the alien communication system. Meanwhile, all around the world, humans showed why the Crethanians had made a big mistake. The very things the aliens thought made humans weak, emotions, creativity, working as individuals, became humanity's greatest strengths. In Kenya, Dr. Kevin Amandi used farming drones to catch the alien pods before they could release their mist. He had programmed the drones to recognize the pods and wrap them in special material that blocked their signals. In Australia, marine biologist Grace Williams discovered that common ocean bacteria could be changed to eat the alien mist. She worked with scientists to grow these bacteria quickly and release them into the air where the pods had already spread their mist. And all over the world, regular people found ways to help. They covered their houses with wet sheets to filter the air. They built community shelters. They shared information about pod sightings. The Crethanians had expected humans to be scared and confused, but instead they saw cooperation and bravery. Colonel Samantha Fox and her team reached the alien landing site at night. They wore special suits that Dr. Ward's team had made, which would protect them from the alien mist for a short time. The Crethanian ship sat in the middle of what had once been a park, glowing softly in the darkness. Remember, we need to find an access point, something that connects to their main system, Samantha told her team. Dr. Kim says it will probably look like a panel with moving light patterns. They moved carefully toward the ship, Most of the aliens were inside, but a few walked around outside, their tall forms easy to see in the darkness. Samantha's team used trees and bushes for cover. When they reached the ship, Samantha spotted what they needed: a panel on the side of the ship where light patterns moved in flowing designs. It looked like the same symbol Zoe had seen on the fallen device. "There," she whispered, pointing. "That's our target." One member of her team, a tech expert named Ryan Chen, moved forward with a small device Dr. Kim had created. It would connect to the alien system and introduce the special sound frequency. Just as Ryan reached the panel, an alarm sounded from the ship. Harsh lights suddenly turned on, illuminating the area. A voice spoke in the bell-like tones of the Crethanians. "Humans detected, security protocols activated. Hurry," Samantha called to Ryan. Ryan worked quickly, placing Dr. Kim's device against the panel. The device lit up, showing it was working, trying to connect to the alien system. Several Crethanians emerged from the ship, holding devices that looked like weapons. Samantha and the rest of her team moved to protect Ryan, raising their own. "Weapons, step away from our ship," one of the aliens commanded. "Your primitive attempts to interfere will not succeed." "Almost there," Ryan called. The device was blinking faster now. The aliens raised their weapons. Samantha prepared to fire, knowing her bullets might not do much against their advanced technology. Then, Ryan shouted, "It's connected!" For a moment, nothing happened. Then the panel on the ship began to flicker. The light patterns became irregular, jumpy. The aliens suddenly put their hands to their heads as if in pain. All around the world, the same thing happened. The special sound frequency that affected alien DNA was now traveling through their own communication system, reaching every Crethanian and every piece of their technology at once. The pods in the sky stopped releasing mist. Some fell to the ground harmless. The Crethanian ships began to power down, their lights flickering. In space aboard the Stellar Encompasser, Commander Zalek felt a terrible pain in his head as the frequency reached the flagship. "What is happening?" he demanded. But the ship's systems were failing. Screens went dark, control panels stopped working. The humans, his second in command, said weakly, "They found a weakness in our biological structure. They are using it against us." Zalek could hardly believe it. The humans, who were supposed to be primitive and emotional, had found a way to defeat advanced Crethanian technology. They had used creativity and cooperation, the very traits the Crethanians thought were weaknesses. "Order all ships to retreat," Zalek commanded. "We must leave Earth's atmosphere before permanent damage occurs." Back on the ground, Samantha and her team watched as the Crethanian ship began to rise into the air, moving slowly and unsteadily. All around the world, the same thing was happening. The aliens were leaving. In the secret underwater lab, Dr. Ward and Dr. Kim watched on monitors as the Crethanian ships departed. "It worked," Dr. Kim said, hardly believing it. "They're actually leaving." Dr. Ward nodded. "They thought emotions made us weak. They were wrong. Our emotions gave us the strength to fight for our right to remain human." At the military base, Zoe Patterson watched the news with her parents. The reporters were saying that the aliens were retreating, that the sound frequency had worked. "You helped save everyone," her father told her proudly. Zoe smiled, but she wondered if the Crethanians would come back someday. Would they try again to change humans? Or had they learned that humanity's flaws were actually strengths? After 500,000 years, aliens visit Earth and regret it instantly. 1 month had passed since the Crethanians left Earth. The alien ships had disappeared from the sky, retreating to the safety of deep space. The pods they had dropped were collected and studied by scientists. The mist that was meant to change humans had been neutralized. Life began to return to normal, but nothing would ever be the same again. The world knew now that aliens existed. Humans knew that 500,000 years ago, visitors from space had changed their ancestors, and they knew that their emotions, their individuality, and their human nature, things the Crethanians saw as flaws, had saved them. Colonel Samantha Fox stood in the Oval Office, looking out the window at the sunny day. her mission to connect. Dr. Kim's device to the alien ship had worked better than anyone had hoped. Now she had been called to meet with the president again. "Colonel Fox," President Lewis said, standing from behind her desk, "the world owes you and your team a great debt." Samantha turned and smiled slightly. "We all did our part, Madam President. Scientists, soldiers, and ordinary people around the world fought back in their own ways." "Yes, but your mission was the turning point," the president said. She picked up a small box from her desk, "which is why I'm presenting you with this medal for extraordinary service to humanity." Samantha accepted the box with a nod of thanks. She wasn't used to being called a hero. She had just done her job, protecting Earth from a threat. "What do you think the Crethanians are doing now?" the president asked, looking toward the sky through the window. "I believe they're trying to understand what went wrong," Samantha replied. "They spent 500,000 years waiting for us to evolve into what they thought we should be. Finding us still human must have been a shock." In deep space, far from Earth, the Crethanian fleet gathered around the damaged flagship Stellar Encompasser. The sound frequency had done significant harm to their systems before they could escape Earth's atmosphere. Now they were making repairs while trying to make sense of their failure. Commander Zalek stood before the Galactic Council, which appeared as holographic figures on the bridge of his ship. His blue-green skin was paler than before, still showing the effects of the human attack. "The Earth experiment did not fail," Zalek reported, his voice humbler than it had been before. "We failed to understand it properly." "Explain," demanded one council member, her 6 eyes blinking with impatience. "The humans did not evolve as we expected," Zalek said. "They remained biological, emotional, and individual. But these traits gave them strengths we did not anticipate. Their emotions drove them to protect their way of life. Their individuality led to creative solutions we could not predict. They defeated our advanced technology with sound," another council member said, disbelief in his voice. "They did," Zalek confirmed. "And they did it by working together while thinking separately. Each human approached the problem in their own way. A child found our observation drone. Scientists discovered our biological weakness. Computer experts broke into our communication systems. They were not connected like we are, yet they coordinated their efforts perfectly." The council was silent for a moment, considering his words. "What do you recommend, Commander?" asked the head of the council. Finally, Zalek looked at the stars visible through the ship's viewing portal. "I recommend we leave the humans alone. Their path of evolution is different from ours, but not wrong. Perhaps there is wisdom in their emotional, biological existence that we have forgotten in our quest for perfect logic." Back on Earth, in the UI small town of Pinewood, Ohio, Zoe Patterson was finally home. After weeks at the military base, her family had been allowed to return to their house. Zoe was treated like a hero at school. Everyone wanted to hear how she had found the alien device that helped save the world. Zoe sat on her back porch, looking up at the stars just becoming visible in the evening sky. She wondered if the Crethanians were still out there, watching Earth. She wondered if they had learned anything from their visit. Her father came outside and sat beside her. "Still thinking about the aliens?" he asked. Zoe nodded. "I think they were lonely," she said. "They wanted us to be like them so they wouldn't be alone anymore." Her father put his arm around her shoulders. "That's a very wise thought." 6 months later, scientists around the world gathered for a special conference. They had been studying the alien technology left behind when the Crethanians retreated. Dr. Paul Ward and Dr. Susan Kim led the main presentation. "What we've learned from the Crethanian technology is fascinating," Dr. Ward told the audience of scientists and world leaders. "They evolved differently than we did. They chose to enhance their bodies with machine parts and reduce their emotions. They became more like one connected mind. But that came with costs they didn't recognize," Dr. Kim added. "They lost creativity. They lost the ability to think in new ways. They all thought alike, which made them vulnerable when they faced something unexpected, like humans working together while thinking differently." After the conference, a new message was sent into space. It was broadcast on frequencies the aliens would understand. The message, approved by all nations on Earth, was simple. To the Crethanian civilization, We are humanity. We thank you for your interest in our development. But we choose our own path of evolution. We choose to remain human, with all our emotions, our individuality, and our biological nature. We welcome peaceful contact in the future, but only as equals, respecting our differences. We have much to learn from each other. 1 year after the Crethanians left, a small signal was detected coming from deep space. Scientists worked quickly to decode it. When they did, the message was short but meaningful. To humanity, we understand now. Your path is different but valid. We regret our interference. Perhaps in time we can learn from each other's differences. In Geneva, Switzerland, a new building was constructed to house the International Space Communication Center. Its purpose was to monitor for alien signals and coordinate Earth's response if the Crethanians or any other aliens ever returned. Lisa Gonzalez was named as the center's first director. At the opening ceremony, she gave a speech that was broadcast worldwide. 500,000 years ago, aliens visited Earth and changed our ancestors because they thought we should evolve like them, she said. When they returned and found us still human, they regretted their visit immediately. Not just because we defeated them, but because they realized their mistake. There isn't just one right way to evolve. There isn't just one right way to exist. She looked around at the crowd, at the faces of people from all around the world. Our emotions, our bodies, our individuality, these aren't weaknesses to overcome. They're strengths to celebrate. The Crethanians learned that the hard way, and in doing so, perhaps they've started on a new path of their own. As night fell, across Earth people looked up at the stars with new eyes. The universe was bigger and stranger than anyone had imagined, but humanity now knew its place in that universe. They would remain human, with all the messiness and beauty that entailed. And if the aliens ever returned, humans would be ready, not with weapons but with the same creativity, emotion, and cooperation that had saved them before. For in discovering humanity's strength, the aliens had discovered their own weakness. And in that discovery, both species had found a new beginning.